And me. I've become me. I've become the woman that is open, that is showing vulnerability, that is just loving myself at last.
We all contain magic. The question is, how do you contain your magic? I'm your host, Sonia Bayon. I'm a transformational coach, yoga educator, singer, and embodied alchemist. I'm here with you today to share the stories, the practices, and the awakenings that truly contain her magic. Let's begin. Hello, lovely listeners, and welcome to episode 13 of Contain Her Magic. Today's episode is about feeling good your way and reconnecting with what matters most. I've recently come back from some travels. I was in the UK for the better part of the month of May, and I had many, many wonderful adventures and met lots of really interesting and beautiful people. And one of the things that really stood out for me during my travels was my time in Wales. It was the first time I had ever visited Wales, and I could tell as soon as I arrived, it felt different. There was more space, more nature, and less urgency. It was really beautiful the way that I was able to take it all in. I arrived by train, and it was a long train ride, I will say, but I was able to take in the landscape and to start to see the shift, not only in the scenery, but also in the people. So as I arrived in Wales, I was greeted by an absolutely lovely taxi driver who brought me to the Big Retreat Festival in Pembrokeshire. And that was the reason that I headed into Wales, was to participate in that festival. I had the honor of offering a sacred flow yoga class and also my signature Contain Her Magic experience. So a 2-hour workshop that helps women to reignite their creative fire without burning out. So I arrived at the festival just at dusk the day before my classes, and I got set up in my yurt and went straight down to the main stage area where there was some live music. Now, it has to be said that the Big Retreat Festival is a wellness festival for sure, but it's definitely not anything like a silent retreat. There was a really vibrant mix of live music and dancing and people dressed up in glitter and wild costumes. And of course, inside of all that, there was the energy, there was the vibe of feeling good your way. So that's the slogan of the festival. So it was a really powerful experience, especially to arrive there in the evening when the energy was shifting from doing the personal growth and yoga, mindfulness. There were all kinds of workshops and varied activities and classes and talks. Really, the festival is designed to offer such a nice variety to allow anyone who attends to find a fit for them. So back to the music. I arrived and there was a sea of, I would say, easily 3,000 or 4,000 people just dancing, having fun, and really engaging with what was going on the stage. And I was alone at the festival at that point. I had people coming to meet me the following day, and I didn't feel alone at all. It was such a really inclusive, fun vibe that I just jumped in and joined the party. The Big Retreat Festival is also really family friendly. There were activities for kids, and the weather that weekend was just glorious. So one nice hot Sunday afternoon, there was a slip and slide set up, and you could see families enjoying themselves, sliding down this hill, overlooking this fantastic estuary. And so there was a real sense of community. But what I really loved about this festival was its philosophy that there really isn't one right way to feel good. For some people, it was dancing. For others, it was yoga. For others, it was sitting quietly in nature. The festival wasn't offering a formula saying, this is what you need to do to feel good. It was offering permission to feel good in whatever way speaks to you. Where else might you start your day with a wild swim, float through an aerial yoga class, immerse yourself in a gong bath, a sound healing journey, join a women's empowerment circle, Then learn circus skills, shape clay with your hands in a pottery class, dance to live music under the stars, and end the evening listening to stories about resilience and human potential. So I've just met Allison at the Big Retreat Festival in Pembrokeshire, Wales, and she was very happy to let me know what was her favorite event here at the festival this weekend.
Well, probably the wild swim.
The wild swim.
That was amazing. And the breathing exercise we did on the first day.
Yeah.
It's difficult to pick one because it's all been amazing. It's just nice to be in the heart, get out the head.
Mm-hmm. And here there's so many people doing that exact same thing.
Yeah.
So it's very inspiring. So tell me, the slogan of the festival is Feel Good Your Way. What's your way to feel good?
Just sit and enjoy countryside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just a bit of calmness because life's very busy at home.
Absolutely. This is a great space to reconnect to nature and to yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So what are you taking home with you from this festival? Did you have any shifts or
definitely.
golden nuggets?
Not quite manana, but, just one thing at a time type thing. It doesn't all have to be, 100 miles an hour.
That's right.
Just that slow down a bit, isn't it? It's, some things can wait. It doesn't all have to be done straight away. And just keep a bit more grounded. Yeah.
That's so true. Thank you so much for sharing with me, Allison.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Allison's words captured something I heard repeatedly throughout the weekend. People weren't necessarily seeking more information. They were seeking reconnection. Sometimes in our modern life, we're constantly being bombarded with stimulation and urgency and the to-do list and one more thing, constant busyness, overwhelm, which leads inevitably to nervous system fatigue. And this was an opportunity to connect in a different way, to connect to each other, to connect to nature, and to connect to our inner voice. Sometimes the most radical thing we can do is slow down enough to hear ourselves again. One of my favorite feel-good moments from the festival was having the opportunity to teach my sacred flow yoga class on the hilltop overlooking the estuary. It was truly magical. There were 100 or so people gathered there to experience themselves in a different way, to honor the journey and the story of their bodies, and to trust in my guidance to bring them to a place of joyful exploration through embodiment and reconnecting with the parts of their bodies that maybe they had left behind in their busyness of life, and also through moving with nature, in nature, and feeling that nature. There was sun shining on some that were more in the sunlight, and others found a nice spot in the shade where maybe the coolness was very soothing. And there was a lovely, gentle breeze that felt like a caress. It was so inspiring to see everyone breathing, moving, flowing together with the intention of feeling good, with the intention of bringing peace, balance, or whatever else they needed in that moment to the practice. And it is something that brings me back to what Allison said, which was that I could feel this collective of people that were moving out of this energy of let's think and being in your head into let's feel and let's be in the heart. It really isn't just a metaphor. It's something that we truly can experience through the body. And I felt that there was a shift during that yoga class in that way. It's something that stayed with me, and it's something that I will always remember. It also brought me back to a question that I've been asked many times over the years. Why yoga? Why do I continue to practice? Why do I teach it? And honestly, the simplest answer is this: it feels good. You know, for all the benefits that you can list from having a yoga practice, when you boil it all down, when you throw it in the cauldron and boil it down to its essence, it's because it just feels good. It feels good to move. It feels good to breathe deeply. It feels good to be present in my body. It feels good to connect with myself. And when we feel good, something really interesting happens. We soften, we open, we become more generous, more patient, more connected, more alive. Joy has a ripple effect. When we feel good, we spread that feeling to the people around us. When we feel good, we spread the joy. And perhaps that's what I was witnessing all weekend. People dancing in their glitter-covered costumes, families laughing together, strangers becoming friends, women reclaiming their spark, people slowing down enough to reconnect with themselves, joy spreading from one person to another. And the more time I spent at the festival, the more I realized that what made it special wasn't any single workshop or performance. It was the container. The festival was a container for people to explore themselves in a way that felt good to them. It was a container that felt safe for some, that brought openness to others, that gave permission to many, and that really uplifted people and brought them to a place of authenticity where you could be what you wanted to be, have fun doing it without fear of judgment or expectation. It felt like a space where people could put down the masks they wear in everyday life. And when that happens, something remarkable becomes possible. This is where transformation can occur, where, in the case of my Contain Her Magic workshop, women could reclaim their spark. There were women who gathered in the room that day who came in, I believe, with a real need and a desire for change, who wanted to make a positive step into a life that resembled them more, into something that was more authentic, something that was more in line with their passions, and something that gave them energy, that lit them up. It was a really moving experience for me because it takes courage to show up. It takes courage to say to yourself, I need this. You know, it's really easy to continue in the way that we always have and just keep the mask on and say, I'm fine, everything's fine. But when you do decide, and it is a choice, to show up, to honor what your needs are, and to commit to saying, I'm going to give 2 hours of my time to bettering myself, and also to trusting that there is some magic here that is to be shared. And that is exactly what I was really hoping to bring to this workshop, to these women, to this space, to the Big Retreat Festival, was a little of my own magic. And my own magic, of course, comes from my own life experience. And your magic, I talk about it all the time. Truly, it is your energy and your vitality, but it's also your uniqueness. And that is something that came up during our workshop and has come up for me more and more in my podcast interviews and in my own reflections. And I can see that a huge part of magic is what makes you different. A huge part of that difference is your gift to the world. And just as the Big Retreat Festival acted as a container for people to express themselves and to feel good their way and to reconnect, the Container Magic experience was a container that I held with devotion and that allowed women a space to reconnect to themselves and to each other by sharing our stories, by looking at what our body is trying to communicate to us through somatic practices, deep inner listening and wisdom that can be accessed during this time is so valuable to be able to make shifts. And I believe that during our workshop, in our mind-body coaching experiences, we were able to get to a new level of understanding. And I say we because even though I'm the facilitator, I'm the guide, I help people to transform. But in every interaction that I'm part of, obviously, it helps to transform me. It's more than just, let's make the workshop better. It's really feeling the energy, feeling the common thread. And I pause because I really wanted to be sure of my words here, but that truly is what comes forward, is that even though we celebrate our uniqueness, it is very clear to me that there is a common thread amongst women and a common thread amongst people to want to reconnect with their authenticity. But with Contain Her Magic, we're focusing on women's stories and women's journeys and women's wisdom. And with that, of course, comes struggles. We gain wisdom in the shadows. We can bring things to light. And sometimes that's wonderful, but sometimes that can be painful. So there is an element, as I mentioned before, of courage that comes with this. And I'm just very honored every time that I have an opportunity to guide people through this process and to see what changes inside of them. Because when they change, I change. When we all approach this kind of work, it influences everyone around us. It influences our families. It influences our friends, our communities, the collective. So when one person chooses to show up for themselves, it can have a huge impact. I believe there's a shift that's happening right now where women are learning to honor themselves, to devote themselves to what matters to them, and to reclaim who they truly are. Women are seeking to reclaim their spark. And this became very apparent in my interview with Rhiannon. So I've just met Rhiannon, and I sat down with her and her friends to ask her a couple of questions. So what brought you to the Big Retreat Festival? Is this your first time?
It is my first time. And what brought me to this festival was this lovely lady sitting next to me, Lisa. And she asked me not quite 6 months ago, would I like to go? And I was like, yes, we will. We'll go and we'll stay in my camper van and we'll come and enjoy everything that is on offer here. So, yes.
What was your favorite part of the festival?
I don't have a favourite part of the festival, but I had an idea that I wanted to get rid of stored emotions in my nervous system. And one of the biggest moments for me was the orgasmic breath session where I had a release of those emotions and I cried. I saw things in my mind. I saw the Eye of Horus, and it was just a massive release for me, and I just feel so different after this weekend. It's amazing.
Yeah, what's the biggest shift for you then? If you could put a word on it, what would it be?
I'm me. I've become me. I've become the woman that is open, that is showing vulnerability, that is just loving myself at last.
Of all the conversations I had that weekend, that sentence really stayed with me. I've become me. Authentic self-discovery is often a remembering. We know who we are. When we're children, we tune in to our inner pulse a little more easily, before the world makes too much noise or we get too busy. If you stop, if you find a moment of peace, either inside of yourself or in a peaceful place, like in the beautiful, beautiful countryside in Wales, you have an opportunity not to become anything really, but to remember, because you've given yourself the space to do so. Inward space, outward space, the time to say, I remember me. That is wonderful, and that is so important. And the slogan for the festival is "Feel Good Your Way." So what's your way to feel good, Rhiannon?
So I've been walking around the festival, probably doing little dances here and there as I've been walking, not in the dark or anything, just in the day, just walking along, just feeling the sense of peace and joy and laughter and just being and just loving it and loving life and finding the joy in everything.
That's beautiful. And I think you're in very good company here.
I think so. I think so.
So would you like to introduce your friend
again? I will.
Yes.
Now, this is Lisa. We've been friends for 28 years. She was the one that asked me to come here, and here I am. So here's Lisa.
Hi there.
Hi, Lisa. Tell me, what's your way to feel good?
I think spending a lot of time with you. After 28 years, we haven't had much time to spend together. So this weekend, for me, watching you get back to the old Rhiannon again, which she's lost over the last 10 years, and it's been quite emotional. I'm getting emotional now. And just seeing you happy again. So I feel I've got a lot of issues to work on as well, but it's been amazing just watching you come alive again and met so many wonderful people here. It's been time away from just the mundane things. And it's just been so lovely not knowing what day it is, what time it is. Just so relaxed, and we've laughed and laughed so much. So her face really hurts, but it's just been away. Beautiful weather, beautiful people around. People are so kind and so friendly. And I lack a lot of confidence, but I found myself just speaking to anybody, and a lot of people made that easy to do that as well. So
yeah, this is a beautiful collective here.
Amazing.
The energy is easy to feel, and we're also in such a beautiful natural setting, and I think it inspires that in people to let go, to get out of their everyday and to just appreciate.
And the weather has been amazing. For bank holiday in Wales, fantastic.
We've been blessed for sure.
Definitely.
Thank you so much,
You're
Lisa.
very welcome.
Sometimes the people who love us can see our light returning before we see it ourselves. The spark that you have inside of you isn't created. Again, it's remembered. Sometimes it's more a question of removing the layers of who we've become or who we think we are to come back to the essence of who we truly are. And what I realized that weekend was that the magic didn't stop at the festival gates. Wales itself holds a certain magic, a special kind of energy, one that interestingly I felt as though I remembered, but actually was an energy that I think was really good at holding the intention of the people at that festival. So in a way, nature played a huge part, I believe, in creating a container as well for the good feelings to emerge and for people to reconnect with themselves. I also met Shona, who's a volunteer at the Big Retreat Festival. Hi, Shona.
Hi.
Tell me, is this your first year volunteering at the Big Retreat?
Yeah, it is. First time anywhere, to be honest. It's the first time I volunteered, first time coming to a festival like this. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Why did you decide to volunteer here?
Because I want to buy a piece of land and do something smaller. So I came and I thought, what a great experience. Find out the mechanics of everything, meet great people. I've had so much insight. Mm-hmm. It's been really fascinating.
What draws you to this idea? Do you have a background in health, wellness, or something else?
Not really. Over the last 20 years, I've gone into it more. I'm now 64, so you have a different perspective, and I'm pleased that people younger are getting that perspective much earlier, and I think that's really important. I think I want to do it because it's important for humanity, and the more people that know themselves, more people find themselves, then there's less aggression. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with less aggression, you have a better humanity, and I think that's what I want to bring. You know, that's what I want to empower people, that they don't have to fight for things. They don't need to. Probably not in my lifetime, but if I can be part of communities that evolve, humanity evolves in that way, I think that is where we have to go as a species.
That is a beautiful path to open up for people. And I think that, you know, when you speak to me about this, what comes to mind is, I think it's also compassion, because what I've seen in the sharing of stories is that everyone has something that they feel they would like to heal or that they would like to shift in their lives. And often that comes from a trauma or a pain or something that hasn't been dealt with. And when we're able to look at ourselves that way, we can then see that we're not so dissimilar from everybody else. And when you realize everybody else has a story and everyone else has something to heal and some pain and a reason to let tears out, and then you realize that everybody just maybe needs a little more compassion, a little more love, and a little more attention. So
definitely,
yeah, that's very admirable. Do you know where you would like to do this?
No, I sold my house a few years ago, so I would be in a position to find the land. Starts with the land. The land's got to be my draw. I've searched many places in the UK, keep coming back to Wales, so it's interesting. And when the land shows itself to me, I'll know it. I have some things that I want on it. It has to have water. It has to have that flow of water for energy. It has to have an ancient woodland. So I have it in my mind's view. And maybe in parks, I've met some amazing people, had some great conversations. that, maybe it's all the process. So I'm building my tribe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it's all about as well, building my tribe. And when the moment is right, it'll come to me.
And people hold memory in their cells, in their DNA, and in their story. Do you believe that land also holds memory?
Massively. We are, without a shadow of a doubt, land. So it's interesting that we spoke about Africa, where I was born. Now, I don't see me living in Africa, but there is a part of that continent that I will travel without a shadow of a doubt. Once I have my land, once I have my tribe, and they are organizing, because I'm just the facilitator in all of this, and I know that's my role, then the land will call again. And I'm a nomadic. My ancestry, my previous lives, I've always been nomadic. And once I put my feet on a field that is going to be right, it will go straight through, and there will be like the lines that go through. Mm-hmm. And probably if I ever mapped it...
Like energetic lines, ley lines.
The ley lines. There will probably be, because there's ley lines through the whole earth. So I think what will happen is the land will be connected to somewhere else, which will be connected to somewhere else, and it will all come back to a center.
Yeah.
So land, yes.
It's like a calling in of energy and creating a focal point for it, so that people can then commune with that and be part of that and evolve through that good energy.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, I can't help but notice that since I've arrived in Wales, I feel that the energy here is different. This is my first time visiting. I've visited Scotland and England, so a lot of the UK, but this is my first landing in Wales. And you said that you've looked around and it keeps bringing you back to Wales. Why do you think that is?
I think it's got to be a previous life. It has to be a previous life. And what I'm learning to do is to take the brain out of the heart and just follow the heart, because we feel that we need to find, or in my case, find something and it's got to do this, but actually that's not, because it will automatically have that. It'll automatically have the water, it'll automatically have the woodland. And I think one of the things that I think is really what people love about Wales is that it's not developed. Lots of parts of the UK are developed now, as the world. And there's not so much static electricity, there's not so many buildings, there's not that constriction of energy of people going to work and the pressure of that with families, because it's more space. I'm not saying people don't have their issues here in Wales, but it's a different type of energy. It's a softer life.
Yeah.
And I think that is possibly reminding us all that's what everybody, I mean, if you speak to most people, they want a simpler life. And they're on this rat race thing because they've got a house, they've got a mortgage, they've got this, they've got that, and I think it's fascinating when people want to come and debunk, turn off their phone for a weekend, and they'll go back to the office on, this case, Tuesday. And I think that's what Wales offers for people.
Yeah. And a weekend like this is a taste of it, but it brings you back into that remembrance of something simpler. And I think that once you get into contact with that, you maybe seek out other opportunities to do the same thing. And the energy here is wonderful. And I think maybe you can feel the pulse of nature a little more here. It's a little stronger than in other places where otherwise it gets diluted or drowned out.
It does indeed. Yeah. And I think, as you probably know, more and more communities are popping up with like-minded people all over the world. And they're offering spaces for people to come and connect with nature, which is why I have so much hope for humanity, because we're all on that path. And there will be a third, won't it? There'll be a third that won't want to know. There'll be a third that will fall by the wayside, and there'll be a third that will carry it forward, because it's always a third.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Well, I'm glad to be part of this third this weekend. With you three. Yeah. So, and I just want to wrap up with, You are a volunteer here, but
I am.
perhaps you've benefited from some of the workshops or the experience here in the music. What's been your go-to, your favorite part of this festival?
I think it's got to be the interaction with people. I love listening to people's story, what brings them, what would they like. Talking to people.
Yeah.
And letting people share.
So their stories, coming forward and
No matter.
evolving. So how do you feel good your way? What's your way to feel good?
Sitting in a field or surrounded by my grandchildren.
Well, I'm sure they deeply appreciate their grandma. Thank you so much, Shona. I really appreciate you sharing your perspective and your wisdom.
Thank you.
What resonated the most for me from my conversation with Shona was her description of Wales as a softer life, a place where people come to unplug, a place where the pulse of nature is still easy to feel. In a time where so many of us have forgotten what it is to simply be, Wales is a place of remembering. Enchanted by its beauty, as the festival came to a close, I wanted to stay and experience a little more of Wales. And that is exactly what I did. I had the opportunity to stay with a friend, and he brought us to a most magnificent beach in Wales. It was a beach on the west coast called Freshwater West, and it's very famous. Many movies have been shot there, including Robin Hood and also the Harry Potter 7, where unfortunately Dobby dies. And in fact, this is the beach where Dobby has his grave. And I was able to go visit that and take some photographs. Many people who visit that site leave socks in remembrance of that brave and very kind house elf from Harry Potter. But I chose not to. Instead, I left a rock. And there were so many beautiful rocks. And I took a few of those back to Canada with me because I wanted to bring a little bit of that Welsh energy back to Canada. And so I made a little shrine, and maybe I'll hang a sock on that. But anyway, I want to share this with you because in talking about feeling good your way, I have to say that one of the ways that I feel amazing is by spending some time by the ocean, by being at the beach, by feeling the sun on my skin and the wind, and then getting into the water. I love the salt water, and it makes my hair look fabulous. But beyond that, I'd like to take a little bit of time to really paint the picture for you. So we arrived at the beach and parked, and then made our way down this hill that was covered in sand. So there were like sand dunes, but if you turned around and look behind, away from the water, you could see rolling hills and cows in a faraway field and long grass in the wind dancing, and then turning your head back towards the water, a vast expanse of ocean and blue skies. And the sand was so hot under our feet because, again, it was a heat wave in the UK at that time. So lucky for us, because the water was so cold, but it was so refreshing. So down on the beach, we had beautiful stones, as I mentioned. There were many different colors, lots of blue, lots of green, even some purple. And we had a long, long way to walk at that point to get to the water because it was low tide. And at low tide, something else very magical was occurring. There were these little pools of water that were accumulating. So you could actually go and dip your toe in and get acclimatized to the water temperature, and then slowly get in and enjoy without being whipped by the waves. But then afterwards I went in a little further, and it was a little bit challenging, I must say, but it was so wonderful once I got in, and I thoroughly enjoyed that exhilarating moment where I finally decided to dunk my head. So going back onto the beach to warm up, to lie out on a nice blanket, I just felt as though the entire experience was like a massive exhale. I felt so alive, so free, and so very grateful. And I think we all need moments like that. It is important to take the time to reconnect with nature and with yourself. We are nature. And when we can make that association, when we realize that there is, in fact, a symbiosis, that we are as much a part of the planet as the planet is a part of us, and we are as much a part of the stars and the cosmos as it is part of us, there is a moment there where that reconnection not only just feels good, but also reestablishes your purpose, reestablishes your sense of belonging. At least for me, on that beach, in that moment, that is what I felt. And I truly hope that you have an opportunity in the coming days, weeks, or months to find a place for you that offers you that same sense of deep connection. A place where you can plug into the pulse of the earth and feel as though you're being recharged, re-energized, rekindling your spark. And so this brings up a question. What are we really craving? When we go to festivals, when we go to places, when we have experiences, what are we craving? We do want to feel good. But the question is, how do we do that? What's your feel good? And as we've explored, there really isn't one answer, but certainly there is one frequency. There is one vibration, and that is what allows you to connect to yourself, to your true self, to your authentic self. For Allison, this is about slowing down. Rhiannon, it was about becoming me, becoming herself. Lisa, watching her do that, watching her come alive again, was a witness to this process. And that collective energy is very powerful. Shona says people want a simpler life and is endeavoring to offer them that. In my workshop, women came to reclaim their spark, and this is what I offer. My yoga class was about embodiment and presence and allowing people a space to honor their journey and to devote themselves to their own feel-good wellness. And the beach is perspective, is spaciousness. And for me, is a magical, magical place. But to continue the question, what if beneath all of our striving, what we're really craving is something much simpler? And maybe it's something else. What resonates with you? What I witnessed in Wales wasn't people trying to become better versions of themselves. I witnessed people reconnecting with who they already were, through music, through movement, through laughter, through community, through nature, through stillness, through joy. And as we know, in a yoga class, at the end of our practice, we feel that joy, even in absolute stillness, because joy is our natural state. Joy isn't something that you pursue. It's something that you remember. Maybe that's why the festival's message, feel good your way, feels so powerful, because feeling good isn't a privilege. Feeling good isn't self-indulgent or selfish. Feeling good is what we need to be better humans. Feeling good is contagious. And when we reconnect with the things that genuinely nourish us, we don't just transform our own experience. We bring more joy, more presence, and more humanity into the spaces we share with others. If today's episode resonated with you and you're looking for ways to create more space for connection, joy, and authentic self-discovery, I'd love to invite you to explore some of the ways that we can work together. For festivals, retreats, and events, my Contain Her Magic experience creates a powerful and supportive container for women to reconnect with themselves, reclaim their light, and remember the spark that has always been there beneath the noise of everyday life. And if you're craving a slower, more embodied approach to movement, you can also join me for Slow Flow Yoga online, a supportive and intentional practice designed to help you reconnect with your body, your breath, and your natural rhythm. And if you're ready to bring more joy, presence, and self-care into your daily life, my 21-day starter challenge for embodied joy offers simple, accessible practices to help you reconnect with yourself in just a few minutes a day. You'll find the links to all of these offerings in the show notes. And if this episode touched you in some way, I'd love to hear from you. What helps you feel good? What helps you reconnect with yourself? What was your biggest takeaway from today's conversation? Please leave a comment, share this episode with someone who might need it. And if you'd like to support the podcast, leaving a review is one of the most meaningful ways to help these conversations reach more people. And if it feels aligned, you can also support the podcast by making a small donation. You'll find the link for that in the show notes. Thank you for listening, for being here, and for being part of this community. May you find your own way to feel good, reconnect with what matters most, and continue to reclaim your light. Before we close, I'd like to invite you into a brief moment of embodied reflection. Place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. Take a slow breath in and a nice long breath out. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of the ocean, the waves rolling in and out. Feel your body move like the motion of the waves, belly rising and belly falling. You see the horizon stretching wide before you. In this place, there's nothing to do, nothing to change, just this moment. As you breathe, ask yourself, what helps me feel good? What helps me reconnect with myself? What helps me reclaim my light? Allow whatever arises to simply be there. No need to force an answer. Just listen. Then ask yourself, what is one small act of devotion that you can offer yourself in the days ahead? One way to create a little more space. One way to invite a little more joy. One way to honor what helps you feel good. Because when we feel good, we naturally share that energy with the people around us. Joy ripples outward, just like waves reaching the shore. And perhaps that's what this journey through Wales reminded me of most. Beneath the noise, beneath the rushing, beneath the roles we play, there is always a way back to ourselves. Well, my lovelies, I hope you feel uplifted and inspired. Remember, your fire is sacred. Hold it, nurture it, and let it light your path without burning out. And I hope that you'll join me for the next episode of Contain Her Magic, a sacred space to honor your path, discover your unique gifts, and to unapologetically embody your truth and your joy. I'm Sonia Bayo. Until next time, burn bright and hold on to your magic.